Is the earthquake that impacted Washington, D.C. a sign of the end? You might be surprised that it's not the first earthquake to shake our nation's capital. I'm Gary DeMar. Welcome to this edition of Vantage Point. The earthquake that hit Washington, D.C. will undoubtedly lead prophetic speculators to conclude that we are nearing the end of all things. There's nothing new in these types of prognostications. For decades, modern-day prophecy writers have been claiming that the increase in severity of earthquakes are sure indicators that we're living in the last days. It happened when an earthquake hit Haiti. The earthquake that sent a tsunami to Japan revved up current end-time speculation. Tim LaHaye, the best-selling co-author of Left Behind series of Bible prophecy novels, had this to say about the Japanese earthquake. The Bible tells us in Matthew 24 that one of the signs of the last days, one of the birth pangs to occur, is an increase in earthquake activity and intensity. We're seeing that happen here. It's not just earthquakes, but hurricanes and all other kinds of natural disasters. This type of comment is not uncommon. Notice LaHaye's use of the word increase. Jesus does not say anything about an increase in either the number of earthquakes or their severity. He simply says that there will be earthquakes in various places. Luke writes in the 21st chapter of his gospel that there will be great earthquakes. He later records one in the 16th chapter of the book of Acts. Suddenly there came a great earthquake so that the foundations of the prison house were shaken. Secular historians of the time, prior to Jerusalem's destruction in AD 70, recorded a number of great earthquakes in Crete, Rome, Phrygia, Laodicea, Campania, Pompeii, and Judea. When Jesus predicted that there will be great earthquakes, he was not describing a period of time 2,000 years in the future. He was describing what would take place before that generation passed away. He said, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place, and some of these things included earthquakes. This generation was the generation of his day, not a future generation. Without this bit of biblical history, it's not surprising that some prophecy writers will claim that this latest earthquake that put a few cracks in the Washington Monument and emptied government buildings is a sign of the end. The United States is not immune to earthquakes, and the one that impacted the nation's capital on August 23, 2011, was not its first one. An earthquake occurred on April 24, 1758, that affected sections of Washington. Its probable center was near Annapolis, Maryland, and it was felt into Pennsylvania. A later earthquake occurred in March of 1828 and was felt all over a wide area, including 7 eastern states and the District of Columbia. Although no damage occurred, it was reported to be violent in D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. John Quincy Adams, then President of the United States, left the following account in his diary of the occurrence as he observed the shock at the White House. The diary entry reads, March 9, 1828. There was this evening the shock of an earthquake, the first which I ever distinctly noticed at the moment when it happened. I was writing in this book when the table began to shake under my hand and the floor under my feet. The window shutters rattled as if shaken by the wind, and there was a momentary sensation as of the heaving of a ship of the waves. It continued about 2 minutes, then ceased. It was about 11 at night. I immediately left writing and went to my bedchamber where my wife was in bed, much alarmed. This wasn't the last earthquake of that era and beyond. There were other earthquakes that impacted the nation's capital. April 1852, August 1861, September 1884, October 1885, May 1897, and November 1935. While this latest earthquake is most likely not a sign of the end of the world, it still could be a warning from God. By cracking the Washington Monument, God may be telling us something. The question is anyone listening?